Welcome. We're the two teachers, and we are at the Institute of Politics at the University of Chicago. We're about to get schooled.
You're invited to join our Political Repartee, a candid conversation about American government and politics. Today, we're talking with Beth Myers.
Beth Myers is a nationally renowned campaign consultant. Most recently, Beth has advised the political campaigns of Mitt Romney, 2008 and 2012.
Now, it's time to get schooled.
Well, the technology has made an incredible difference. Back in the day that I started in campaigns in 1980, we were doing voter ID with landlines in rooms, with voter ID documents which were triple ply. So that and hand addressing envelopes from those hard lists. So you'd take a list and you'd make the calls. You'd go through them 3 times, and then you'd rip one of the tops off and put it in it. This is to address envelopes from. This is for get out the vote, and this is for record keeping. And the thought of that is antiquated, and there was required a lot of physical manpower. And it was very slow and methodical. Today, of course, with the digital age, you can contact people in so many different ways and talk to them. And the other thing is that in 1980, there was one message. You called every single person and said the same thing. And now everybody gets their own messages. You can contact them from the web, on cell phones, through texts, through phones, through very specialized walk lists, and so the personal touch is very, very different. The other thing that's very different is the television. There used to be 3 networks, and so. The news was filtered all through those 3 networks and city newspapers. Now, of course, there's hundreds of different television networks. There's tens of news networks, and there's the internet, which means that content can be provided by anybody standing on a street corner who decides he wants to start a blog. And there's positives and negatives about that development, but it is very, very different. The voters get their information in many different ways, and in many different formats. A modern presidential campaign is like an enormous startup, and if you can imagine it, you spend. If your candidate is fortunate enough to get the nomination, you spend you run through $1 billion in maybe 18 months, and you start from nothing, and you have to build everything, and that means you have to find a building, you have to do phone lines, you have to build a website, you have to build, get the furniture in. I mean, the very basic things, and that's just your headquarters, and then you have to do that in states all across the country. You have to build a fundraising infrastructure. You have to build a voter ID and get out the vote infrastructure in many states. So you're a national business that starts from nothing and then goes to nothing. You have to have incredibly good accounting procedures, not only for FEC reports, but also because you don't want to have no money left over at the end of the election. You don't want to have too much money left over. So it's a very complicated thing these days, much more so than in the days when folks were, when campaigns were 6 months long and based out of one city. Size, first of all, but if you're doing in a caucus and a primary, the people who show up to caucuses are generally, they've got to actually really care a whole lot about what's going on. You've got to motivate them to get out of their house, come to a central location, give up an evening or a Saturday of their life, and work hard to get your candidate elected. So you've got to try to find people who are who are really committed, and that requires a lot of deep community involvement. Primaries you can do a little bit different. You can get a Republican voter list, and you can call through that, and you want to turn out your vote. It's a similar mechanism to a general election, but it's a narrower range of people. In a general election, you just want to get everybody and their dog out who's for your candidate, and you use every means possible. And you have to segment. You've got to segment your messages. You're talking to a wider band of people, and you've got to get out not only your solid base, but you've also got to get out people that were persuadable undecided. So it's a little bit more complicated in the general. Well, a balanced ticket could mean a lot of things, and I worked with Mitt Romney when he was deciding who his VP was, and a balanced ticket could be a man and a woman, an older person and a younger person, a northerner and a southerner. It could be a conservative or a less conservative person. I think what it means, what you're aiming to find are two people who complement each other, and could work together and govern together well. And I think each of the, it's a very personal choice for a presidential candidate to make, but it can mean a lot of different things. There's a lot of movies and a lot of books out there that make it seem like a cutthroat profession or something, where there's a lot of intrigue and a lot of backroom deals. And really what it is a lot of people who are passionate about ideas and passionate about their country, who are working to get candidates elected that they feel will make a difference in the United States and for the future of our country. And what I've found are my colleagues in politics are really interesting, really committed, really ethical, really smart folks, and that goes from the very top to the volunteers who work in the phone banks. Well, every campaign has different is structured somewhat differently, but in most campaigns you'll find certain advisors. You'll have a political advisor, and that person is frequently the person who manages the field operations in each of the states, manages the get out the vote, manages the voter ID. You'll have a media consultant, the person who puts the advertisements together. You'll have a communications and a press advisor, and those people work with the paid and with the earned media, or with the paid media primarily. I'm sorry, those people work with the earned media. They work with the TVs and the newspapers. You'll have now a digital director, and the digital director is the person who's in charge of all the internet and social media. And you'll have a pollster, and the pollster is or a research director. Who does qualitative and quantitative research. And finally, you'll have research directors, and those people are the ones who put all the policies together for a campaign. And of course, the most important, fundraising. This is one of the things that the Obama campaign has demonstrated, that get out the vote works best the closer you are to the voter. For years and years, get out the vote was done through the mail and through phones, and block walking and door knocking was sort of, well, it's a nice thing to do, but it was time intensive and manpower intensive. The Obama campaign, using digital technology and some really amazing organizational skills, took get out the vote into the neighborhoods and right back to the door and the interpersonal relationship with the voter, and they developed long-term relationships with their communities, and I think they've really changed the way voter ID and get out the vote is done.
Here are the lessons we learned from today's Political Repartee with campaign consultant Beth Myers.
Beth Myers said that she started her first campaign in 1980, and boy, have those campaigns changed since. But one thing that hasn't changed, GOTV, get out the vote. In the end, the winner will be determined by that campaign that persuades the most voters to vote.
We know campaigns today are a whole lot more expensive and involve a lot more workers, but they still boil down to that question. Can you identify your potential voters, and can you get them out to vote? We know technology can make that easier in terms of reaching voters, but it really still comes down to that grassroots network. Can you knock on a door and get your neighbor to vote for your candidate?
I'll tell you the lesson I'll remember, and that is a modern political campaign is like a startup company. You need a lot of money up front, but you also need experts. You need pollsters. You need people that get research done for you, information. You need a CEO. You need a campaign consultant. You need someone like Beth Myers.